If we could have your attention, I appreciate it. I know there's great conversation and excitement in this room, but I'd like to begin if we could. I am most pleased to join in making this very exciting announcement for our university campus, for the university system, and for this community. For today, in announcing that the University of North Carolina at Asheville will lead the administration of the University of North Carolina System's Pisgah Astronomical Research, Science, and Education Center, or PARSEC, we are at once achieving a number of strategic goals for this university campus and for the university system. And what I think is particularly exciting is that we are at the center of a partnership that will contribute significantly to the educational and economic quality of life in our region. This is a win-win-win. And as we announce it in that spirit of partnership, I'm particularly pleased that Representative Wayland is here, that City Councilor Mumpower is here, because this is an announcement that is about, yes, this university, but it's about this region as well and this state. PARSEC is a win for the faculty and students of UNC Asheville who will experience enhanced multidisciplinary teaching, learning, and research opportunities, thus adding even greater potency to a liberal arts experience that is already recognized as one of the nation's best. And moreover, as it allows us to offer even greater opportunities for research in radio and optical astronomy, it will contribute to the general astronomy curriculum. And I think it's important to point out that already we have over 200 students who take classes in astronomy on this campus every year. And it will contribute to our very successful multimedia arts and science program as well. PARSEC will also support and enhance the opportunities of undergraduate and graduate faculty and students from across the university system, permitting advanced research in astronomy and physics-related fields. And PARSEC will benefit our region's schools, building on the existing intergenerational commitment of the University of North Carolina at Asheville, allowing K through 12 students to experience radio and optical astronomy in a way that will help inspire tomorrow's college students and tomorrow's scientists. And PARSEC will support the knowledge-based economy of this region, drawing research astronomers from across the country, further supporting the importance of scientific inquiry to our economic and cultural way of life. So this is indeed a multiple win. A win for your National Liberal Arts campus, a win for the university system, a win for our region's teachers and children, and a win for our place in the knowledge-based economy. And most important, this is a win for partnership and collaboration. And that's why I'm very pleased to introduce our many partners whose hard work and persistence and commitment to science education have made this day possible. And I'd like to ask them each to come forward and say a few words, if I might. First, and I will introduce them all and then ask them to simply come forward. First is Dr. Mark Padilla, who is the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the University of North Carolina at Asheville. Second, and what a wonderful visionary, second will be Don Klein, who's here with his wife, Jo. They are really the individuals who, through their founding of Perry, have made this day possible in such a special way. Mike Castellaz of Perry, whose commitment to K through 12 learning for children and to making opportunities for science education possible. We're very excited that he is here. Wayne Christensen, a wonderful member of the University of North Carolina community, a leader in science education and director of the Moorhead Observatory. What a great privilege it is to have him here. Chris Brown of North Carolina State University and the head of the Space Initiative at the Office of the President, and John Stevens. And if I might say a special word about John, John has been at the University of North Carolina at Asheville for many years, leading in teaching and research in science. And his efforts are now taking this university to new levels, not only in science, but across the disciplines and in partnership with the community. And I want to personally say thank you to you, John. So now, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Padilla.
Thank you, Chancellor, and welcome and hello. I am indeed delighted to play a role in this festive event as the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at UNC Asheville and the university's Chief Academic Officer. I wish to put into perspective what the establishment of the center means for our campus. First, however, I also want to recognize our important guests and thank you for attending today. I'm delighted to be in partnership with Mr. Klein. Don is the rare individual who combines vision, passion, expertise, and social responsibility. We are honored to have the opportunity to help him fulfill the value of Perry that he clearly and rightly has so much faith in as a resource for the greater good of science education and astronomical research. We are also honored that his wife, Jo, is here to take part in this event. Thank you for attending, Jo. My involvement with the Pisgah Astronomy Facility reaches back to my first 2 weeks on the job in early July 2002. My stack of Welcome to UNCA papers, which contained all sorts of vexing problems that understandably were waiting for the new Vice Chancellor, featured a slim printout of email from Alex Comfort in the development office here about some kind of interesting but somewhat odd astronomical spy station left over from the Cold War era with lots of equipment in place. I must say, of that stack of papers and problems and weight, this was the most intriguing of possibilities and opportunities. I experienced the usual kind of fascination when I visited with Alex Comfort the facility shortly later, and even got past the sense that I had just visited a set of the X-Files. When I involved thereafter Dr. Stevens, the new Chief Research Officer of UNC Asheville, our excitement began to build about the idea of more links between the two institutions, with talk about a possible UNC center that could interface with Perry and with UNC Asheville as the administrative center. Hence, it is delightful to see this vision becoming fulfilled, even if some of the problems in that tall stack of initial papers remain intractable. The value of Parsec to UNC Asheville may be expressed through the familiar concentric circle metaphor. Our university at the core must have and does have an important identity in multiple arenas of exchange in ways that serve our mission. Firstly, our Parsec leadership will allow many of our curricula to grow and be nourished, especially, of course, our astronomy track within the physics department, but also the programs of computer science, multimedia arts and sciences, and many others. Our faculty and students, both separately and together, will have greater access to a facility that will enhance our commitment to providing the best liberal arts education in the country by a teacher-scholar faculty. The natural sciences, especially astronomy, have been part of the artes liberales since the late antiquity, and their thriving programs here testify clearly to UNCA's tremendous leadership of natural science undergraduate education in the region and beyond. Parsec will also allow UNCA to play a still stronger role in the region. The educational emphasis of PARI, for example, fits well with our own commitments to facilitating primary and secondary educational experiences. We join Mr. Klein and his PARI team in exciting children of all ages about the value and wonder of science education, and we look forward also to helping him to foster the development of science teachers in the schools. Thirdly, the UNC system, and hence the great state of North Carolina as a whole, will now have greater access to utilizing the tremendous resources that were left by the National Security Agency, the resources that have been added since their departure by Mr. Klein, and that will be added over time as greater investment is made to the infrastructure. I also want to thank John Stevens for his leadership in moving us down this track. He's opened a path towards a center that has the potential for being an especially bright jewel in the already starry crown of the UNC cadre of centers. Finally, the research potential and the real uniqueness of the facility near Rosman offer this university a chance to build Parsec into a cooperative with true national and international prestige and importance. There may be no facility like Perry in the United States, as I understand it, and the potential is clearly present for UNC Asheville to become closely associated with one of the most interesting, educationally oriented astronomical facilities in the world. In sum, the University of North Carolina Pisgah Astronomical Research, Science, and Education Center communicates and actualizes UNCA's core values, regional responsibilities, and national stature. We look forward to assuming a leadership role in the affairs of the center and commit ourselves to a lasting and meaningful relationship with Mr. Klein and his outstanding Perry staff. Thank you.
Well, thank you both for very kind comments. Pisgah Astronomical Research Institute, Perry, is located about 30 miles west of Asheville within the 1.5 million acres of the Pisgah Forest. Perry is a not-for-profit public foundation. The 200 acres and 20-plus buildings at Perry is part of a location which is rich in history. In the 60s and 70s, it operated as the East Coast Tracking Station as part of the NASA USA space program. At Perry, our mission is to offer research and educational opportunities in radio and optical astronomy and in the related disciplines of physics, engineering, chemistry, and computer science. We need a place where the world-class researchers can try unconventional ideas, a place where pure research combines with practical application, a place where people can begin their education and be inspired to continue. Perry is such a place. It is an unparalleled opportunity to take research and education out of the classroom and into the realm of imagination. Perry and Parsec together can help accomplish this goal. In our 6 years, Perry has come a long way towards realizing our mission. But we have just begun the journey, and we still have far to go. Perry welcomes your interest and sincerely hopes that you will join us in our journey. I hope to see you this afternoon when we have a tour of the facilities at Perry. I promise you that this trip will be rewarding and fun. Thank you very much.
I'm Mike Castellaz. Don mentioned the tour this afternoon. There are directions to Perry that we'll hand out a little later on with that. A little bit about the impact on education. Roger Compton is a professor of engineering that I know, and I'm going to quote him because it really, in a nutshell, is what we're about. He said, "Learning is not a spectator sport." That's what we're about. All right. Remember when you learned to drive? You read the books, then you got behind the wheel? It was different, wasn't it? That's what these students are going to be doing at Perry. We give students the opportunity to face new challenges that really don't have an answer in the back of the book. In fact, a student, a physics major from UNCA about 3 years ago now, who spent the summer up at Perry, told me that he was glad to get back to classes because he could look up the answers in the back of the book. We're training a new generation of scientists and engineers for really a whole new world of scientific excitement that we just can't imagine. I mean, look back 10 years at the internet. What was it? Now look at today. I mean, there's just things we can't imagine. That's what we're getting students ready to face. What do? Perry, and now along with Parsec, gives students the opportunity to control 250-ton robots, if you want to think of our telescopes that way. You can sit at your own computer at home and run these or in the classroom and run these telescopes at robots, measuring in real time radio signals from space, signals that you're the first one to catch. Radio waves travel thousands of light years through space, make it to our solar system, then to Earth, and one little chunk of those hit a dish. And you're the first one to catch those. So there's some discovery there. You're never quite sure what you're going to see, and if things don't work, then you have to figure out why they don't work. So there's a lot of processes going on. Students that come to Perry rapidly acclimate themselves to this whole new exciting environment, and they're immediately challenged to use all their skills in math and science, reading, writing, computers, everything that they've learned up to the minute they walk in the doors at Perry. Some students, well actually quite a number of them, find skills and talents they may not have ever realized that they possess. For example, a high school student spent a summer up at Perry improving the pointing abilities of our large radio dishes during one summer. At the end of the summer, she came up to me and she said, you know, I didn't know I could do that. That's the note we want to hit. She's now going to college in engineering. How would she have known otherwise? It's just amazing to watch these kids work. We have several programs in place, including the School of Galactic Radio Astronomy, which Dr. Doherty from the Computer Science Department has a setup over here, and I imagine you'll say something about that, where students in grades 8 through 12 use a radio telescope over the internet with the panel that you see on the screen over on the side to my right. We have a Starlab planetarium. It's a portable planetarium that travels around to schools with, well, as far as our person that runs the program, Dr. Bob Hayward, is willing to go. And Bob Hayward, by the way, is an astronomer and also has his PhD in education. He came from Fernbank. He retired in the area, and we hired him the next day. He's very good. We're also, most recently, and we're really proud of this, is we've received a grant from the National Science Foundation in a program called Internships in Public Science Education, in which 2 faculty members from UNCA in the multimedia program, and they're both here, Lorraine Walsh and Mariana Lafrada, and I, and also Dr. David Moffett from Furman University, are going to be putting together a new planetarium show called the Radio Sky, because students come up to us, so almost everybody comes up to us and says, oh, that radio telescope is neat, but where's the eyepiece? We're going to give them the eyepiece in our Starlab planetarium. So you'll look up and you'll see what the radio sky really looks like. So we're really happy with that, plus some other initiatives that we have. Undergraduate students do research during the summer months. Some students come up during the academic year, including high school students doing senior projects. We just have a number of things going on. And those things are all great. But the new UNC Center at Perry is where we really want to go. This center is going to open up Perry to on the order of 200,000 students of the UNC campuses to experiences that is, in my opinion, just a real jewel for North Carolina. In fact, very unique for the whole country itself. So keep your eyes open for us. Perry is a vision where we want to give every student in North Carolina the opportunity to test their skills and interest in science and technology. So, who's next? John? No? Chris? Wayne?
First of all, let me say it's a great pleasure to have this opportunity to celebrate this great new alliance between UNC Asheville and Perry in radio astronomy. As a radio astronomer, I am doubly happy to see this happening. I would like to point out that in the United States, we are fortunate as astronomers that we have wonderfully advanced national observatories and facilities that are available to us. The U.S. national observatories operate from space and on the ground in both the northern and southern hemispheres. They cover all wave bands from the radio all the way through the X-rays. Time at the national observatories, however, is a quantity that is fought over competitively by astronomers tooth and nail, so to speak. And the fact of the matter is that frontline telescopes at the national observatories are oversubscribed by many orders of magnitude in terms of the time available versus the time requested. And what this has done in radio astronomy in particular is lead to some very interesting problems, which Perry and Parsec, by implication, will begin to address. Those two problems can be sort of summarized in the following way. First of all, because of the time pressures at national observatories, it's very difficult to carry out long-term programs where you need a lot of time, in observing time, in order to understand what is truly going on in the astrophysical system that you may be wishing to study. The second thing, and perhaps more important thing about the time crush at the national observatories, is the fact that young graduate students and undergraduate students virtually are frozen out of access to these instruments and these telescopes. The competition is so serious and severe that rarely does an undergraduate or a graduate student get an opportunity to independently work with these telescopes, especially at the national observatories in terms of hands-on operations, in terms of, as Mike put it, learning to actually drive the car. Perry has a new niche as far as the national observatories are concerned. In radio astronomy, in my field, for years it has been true that the National Radio Astronomy Observatory has the only game in town. Now, that's hard enough for those of us who are professional astronomers trying to get access to these telescopes. It's really tough on graduate students and undergraduate students because they're at the far end of the bench and they're never going to get in the game. This is the opportunity for them to get in the game. Now, I want to turn also and mention the fact that in the work that we do, the crush on time is a very important restriction on the kinds of research that is done in the United States. The National Observatories schedule their telescope 6 months in advance. You're given a block of time. You go to the telescope at your allocated time and you do your observing at that particular time. What if something happens? What do? You don't do anything different. You have an obligation. You have written a proposal. You have essentially signed a contract. You will observe that object up there. You will not go willy-nilly off and look at this exciting new thing over in the other part of the sky, perhaps a gamma ray burst or something like that that has gone off in the interim. You don't do that. You have an obligation. This means that they lack the flexibility that an observatory like Perry has. We call these kinds of observations TOO, topic of opportunity, task of opportunity. Opportunity is the key word. Observatories like Perry have the flexibility, have the ability to switch their observing from one object to another at the drop of a hat. TOO is the thing to do. The national observatories find it very difficult to carry that out. I'll give you a very quick personal summary of how this can work. Many years ago now, I'm old enough to say many years ago, back in the 80s when the famous supernova in 1987 went off in the southern hemisphere. It just happens that you might say that I was extremely lucky because I was getting on the plane to go to Chile for an observing run at Cerro Tololo Inter-American Observatory on the very day that the supernova went off. We had time on what was then the Front Range telescope in Chile, 4-meter telescope. It was not for observing a supernova, however. It was for observing a very, very faint galaxy. We got down there and the supernova had gone off. It was so bright you could see it with the naked eye. The instrument that was on the telescope that I was scheduled to use weighs 2.5 tons. It takes 2 days to move that instrument off the telescope and put a different instrument on it. In 2 days, much of the information about the supernova that we were interested in would be lost. What did we do? We observed what we had proposed to observe, and we went down the road, well, not literally down the road, we were on top of a mountain. We went down the mountain and used a very small telescope, a 16-inch telescope, to observe the supernova. That telescope had the flexibility, the scheduling flexibility to allow us to react to current events. Perry in the radio is going to provide a facility of this sort. I think the last thing that Mike has already alluded to, that Perry and Parsec by implication both provide us with, is this training ground for students that is so critical. The current generation of radio astronomers is not, frankly, being replaced by lots of bright young people. The people who built the national observatories are my age. And where's the next generation going to come from? The next generation is going to come from facilities like Perry, where students get into the guts of the telescope, so to speak, take it apart, deal with the breakdowns that Don Klein and company are so familiar with happening, and learn how to fix things. Hands-on is critical. It's my hope, belief, dream that when the next generation of radio astronomers begins finding new things like quasars and pulsars, maybe many of them will have North Carolina accents. Thank you.
My name is Chris Brown. Chancellor Mullen and faculty and staff of UNC Asheville and distinguished visitors, on behalf of the entire 16-campus University of North Carolina, I'd like to express my pleasure in taking part in this announcement today concerning the Pisgah Astronomical Research, Science, and Education Center, or PARSEC. UNC President Molly Broad and Vice President for Research Russ Lee, who were unable to join us today, asked me that I share with you their excitement and support for this worthwhile endeavor. Perry is already involved, as you've heard, in research and educational programs at several campuses throughout the University of North Carolina. In order to formalize these relationships and extend them to all 16 campuses, PARSEC was proposed and formally granted permission to plan in August of this year. Its administrative center, as we know now, will be the University of North Carolina at Asheville. Centers within the University of North Carolina provide a means to strengthen and enrich multidisciplinary areas of research, instruction, and public service conducted by faculty and staff. They also can provide undergraduate, graduate, and postdoctoral students with needed training opportunities and research opportunities, and to enhance their involvement in public service as well. Centers generally have a strong economic impact on this, or a positive impact on the state's economic development by creating jobs, supplying technical assistance, fostering community development, and enhancing the transfer of new technologies. We envision PARSEC as a leading national observatory and study site, providing a broad and diverse cross-section of users with direct research and educational opportunities in radio and optical astronomy, as well as other disciplines. PARSEC, when formally established, promises to have a tangible impact on Western North Carolina and indeed the entire state and beyond. PARSEC fits very well with the goals of the North Carolina Space Initiative, a strategic effort of the UNC Research Division to increase the role that North Carolina plays in space science in general. We look forward to being a partner with UNC Asheville in the coming months in the process of attracting stakeholders and developing the long-term viability and success of PARSEC. Thank you very much.
The driving forces bringing together PARSEC are four significant forms of collaboration. These collaborations will assure PARSEC's success regionally, nationally, and internationally. The first and most important of these collaborations is between research and education. Normally, education is layered onto a research center after the fact. This center is being developed with an equal emphasis on both research and education. The second collaboration is critical. It is between Perry and the UNC system. Perry is a $300+ million facility that has been nurtured by the vision and the resources of Don Klein. The UNC system is composed of 16 institutions with over 300,000 students, faculty, and researchers. The third form of collaborations are the many disciplines that are involved and will be involved with the development of Parsec. This includes astronomy, physics, computer sciences, engineering, multimedia arts and sciences, biology, chemistry, education, management, et cetera, et cetera. The fourth collaboration is that of diversity of age groups that will be the users and the leaders. The vision of Parsec is the involvement of students from elementary schools, high schools, the undergraduates, teachers, faculty, graduate students, and researchers, and the retirement community. These four collaborations will help to develop an internationally significant facility here in Western North Carolina. This would not happen if it were not for these various collaborations. Parsec will bring economic benefit to this region as it attracts thousands of individuals here to Western North Carolina for short and long-term visits. The center will add directly to the employment of scientists and technicians with an increase in the budget expected to be over $1 million. The other impact will be the new technologies that will come from this center. The traction of Parsec in Western North Carolina is that it will fuel the development of the information-based economy that is envisioned for the future of this region. It will add to our climate of Western North Carolina that is increasingly hospitable to science and inquiry. In closing, you're all welcome for a scheduled tour to Perry, which will depart at 1:30 this afternoon out at the visitors parking lot area, which is next to Phillips Hall. Anyone who's interested in coming to that, please show at 1:30, and we'll have arrangements in terms of going out to Perry at that time. And also, following the formal festivities here, we will go into a mode of informal festivities, and so please take a look at some of the telescopes, but Joe Daugherty up here will demonstrate some of the online capabilities that exist now out at Perry.
Thank you, John, and as we prepare to take any questions either now formally or informally at the conclusion, I'd just like to say again in summary that this is an extraordinary opportunity for collaboration that will have substantive impact for young children, for this region's economy, for the students at this university, for the students at university campuses across the system. This is indeed the win-win-win. And if I might, again, in thanking Representative Trudy Whalen and City Councilor Carl Mumpower for being here, this is the kind of example of collaboration based on excellence in learning that this campus wants to be about. And finally, just to acknowledge all the faculty and the students who have joined us here today, from Joe Daugherty from computer science and his colleagues, and particularly from our physics department, Randy Booker and his colleagues who are here. I can tell you, and I say this unabashedly, had the physics department at my undergraduate institution been half as wonderful as you all, I would have been a much better physics student. So, in conclusion, we will take any questions now, or if you wish to wait formally till afterwards. Why don't we celebrate and talk? Thank you.